Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer Science Academy Bengaluru. This is the daily news analysis. Today, that is 9th August 2025, we'll discuss some 5 to 6 articles from prelims and mains perspective. So the first article is from the Indian Express, which talks about the recent cloudburst and the ensuing disaster which happened in Uttarakhand. So the article reads, triple disaster in Upper Bhagirathi Valley, a wake-up call. So the context is struck eco-sensitive Upper Bhagirathi Basin, a region notified as Bhagirathi Eco-Sensitive Zone in 2012. So recent cloudburst or recent flash flood struck this particular area, which is also called as Bhagirathi Eco-Sensitive Zone. Highlights, it talks about climate vulnerability of the Himalayas, glacial retreat and warming impacts, policy and governance failure in enforcing environmental safeguards, part of recurring disaster chain in the Indian Himalayas. Okay, so these are the things which are in context. So we'll discuss the triple disaster which happened in the last 2 days. So at 1 p.m. in Dharali, suspected cloud burst like flash flood, which led to 20 to 25 hotels and homes destroyed, and also many of the army personnel were also killed, and many of the common citizens were also killed. And in 3 p.m. at Harshil, flash floods in the mountain stream. It led to infrastructure loss. And at 3:30 p.m. near the Harshil helipad, flood submerged the helipad and key relief infrastructure was hit. Okay, so even the only route through which aerial drop could have been made was also closed. Okay, so within just a day, there are 3 disasters, there are 3 hazards which causes or which raises concern. So casualties, there are 4 confirmed deaths and 60 to 70 people are missing, and including 9 army personnel. And there is a massive rescue operation led by Army, National Disaster Relief Force, SDRF, and Indo-Tibetan Border Police. Okay, so the scientific explanation for this are mainly because of topography, glacial morphology, and the immediate trigger. So topography is Dharali is at a base of steep deodar covered slopes. Okay, if you see the image, it goes like this. This is the valley. Dharali village is staying here. Village lies here. This goes and joins Kir Ganga river. So what happened here is, because of the flash floods and because of the glacial outburst, the water along with the flash floods and the debris started flowing in, and all the all the villages and the infrastructure got destroyed, and half of the villages were covered, and then the water went to river. Okay, so when you are laying at the lower riparian area, when you are laying at the lower slopes, obviously when there is a disaster which comes at a rapid pace due to the slope, it is going to affect the lower area. Next is glacial morphology, that is the presence of cirques, that is the hanging glaciers holding debris of the earlier glacial retreat. What is cirques? If you talk about a Himalayan region or any region or any region where the glaciers are there. So if this is any mountain, so suppose this Himalayan mountain. So if this is the arete, okay, they will call this as arete. Okay, the sharp edges are called as aretes. And when within these mountains, there will be certain areas which are called as cirques. Here, the glacier melt is covered here. Glacier melt is stored here. So they are saying that in the cirques, the glacial melts of the previous glacier melts were stored here. As a result of cloudburst and the flash flood, it also breached the embankment and it resulted in the flash floods. Okay, so the trigger is heavy monsoon plus rising temperatures, which led to rapid snow melt and avalanche of snow, ice, rainwater and glacial moraine rushed through 5 to 6 small streams. 3 avalanches within 2.5 hours caused triple disasters. Okay, so along with the natural and the topographic causes, there is also policy and governance failure. BESS notification to regulate infrastructure and preserve ecology. However, this regulation has not been properly implemented, so there is a poor enforcement despite MOFCC monitoring. And then Char Dham highway expansion in BESZ, that is Bhagirathi Eco-Sensitive Zone. This Char Dham highway expansion were recommended. it was being constructed. However, there are certain recommendations given by high panel committee which were ignored. That is, avoiding the disturbing slopes, elevated riverbank roads to protect the deodar forest. However, these are not taken into consideration. As a result, 6,000 deodar trees were marked for felling. 6,000 trees were cut down, and the river, like Chardham Expressway, was expanded. As a result, there was no, whenever there is a glacial melt or whenever there is a flash flood, there was nothing to catch hold of them. Okay, there was no barrier. You can say there was no barrier. There was no barrier because they were cut down. There was no barrier. As a result, the debris started flowing down very quickly. So the pattern of ignored disasters, ignored warnings. So it is not just yesterday, but there have been repeated disasters in the last decade or so. So that which we have ignored in India, especially in the northern India, especially in the Himalaya and Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand belt. Okay. So in 2013, Kedarnath floods, which was a devastating floods, there was disaster preparedness and slope stability was ignored. And then in 2021, Raunti Gad avalanche, no HEPs in paraglacial zones. And then in Joshimath subsidence, carrying capacity and settlement planning were ignored. And in Teesta Valley Gulf, that is glacial lake outpost flood, glacial monitoring and early warning systems are not there. And in annual Himachal monsoon landslides, infrastructure restraint in the fragile zones were ignored. Okay, at least now the need is to recall and learn the lessons from the previous disasters so that we can avoid the future disasters. Okay, next, expert recommendations, that is ban HEPs in paraglacial and glacial lake regions. Next, restrict human activity in flood prone zones and no slope and widening above 30-degree gradient, and carrying capacity studies for Himalayan towns, and strengthening early warning system for avalanches, GLOFs and landslides. Climate resilient development over tourist centric expansion. So broader analysis is the Himalayan climate vulnerability. That is, warming rates in Himalayas are 2x the global average. This data is going to be very important for your answers in GS3. So note down the data. Cryosphere loss is altering the hydrology, which is resulting in flash floods and glacial lake outburst. And anthropogenic drivers or the road buildings, unregulated tourism, and HEP blasting destabilizes the slopes. Okay, and then governance gap. That is, there are policies exist, that is Bhagirathi, eco-sensitive zone guidelines and NDMA guidelines. However, these guidelines have not been properly implemented. So political push for high traffic infrastructure undermines ecological safety. Now the need is to not only have the guidelines but should also be implemented and followed in not only in letter but in spirit as well. Okay. So second is about ectopic pregnancy, a rare intrahepatic case in Uttar Pradesh. This has been covered by most of the newspapers. I took this from down to earth. Okay. So the context here is in Bulandshahr, an MRI revealed an intrahepatic ectopic pregnancy fetus growing in the liver, an extremely rare case. Okay, we'll see what is this ectopic pregnancy or intrahepatic ectopic pregnancy. Definition is pregnancy where fertilized egg implants outside of the uterus. Okay, we know that whenever the sperm meets the egg, it is called as fertilization of the eggs. When the eggs fertilize, they attach to the uterus, they attach to the fallopian tube, and from where the baby starts growing. But in certain cases, these fertilized eggs go and attach or implant outside of the body, outside of the uterus. This is called as ectopic pregnancy. Most common in the tubal pregnancies, that is where fallopian tubes are involved, and rare sites are ovary, abdomen cavity, cervix and liver. Even in these areas, we will be able to see a baby growing on. The causes are maybe because of the blocked movement of fertilized eggs due to fallopian tube scarring, inflammation, tube damage from previous surgeries or infections, and abnormal tube shape. These can be the various reasons. And symptoms are, in early, it will result in missing periods or missed periods, nausea and breast tenderness, and later it will lead to vaginal bleeding, abdominal, pelvic or back pain, shoulder pain, dizziness, low BP, discomfort in bowel movement. All these things are common with respect to all the common pregnant ladies, but you have to take care of these things and get it checked early. So the treatment is methotrexate to stop egg growth in early cases, and surgery in advanced or life-threatening cases. Okay, significance is life-threatening if untreated due to internal bleeding, and intrahepatic implantation is extremely rare with very few documented cases globally. So just have an idea about what is this intrahepatic pregnancy. Next is with respect to Coastal Shipping Bill of 2024. This was given in the Indian Express. So we will discuss key facts about Coastal Shipping Bill. Okay, so what does it replace? It replaces Part 14 of the Merchant Shipping Act of 1958, and aim is to modernize and streamline coastal trade, reduce logistical costs, and boost Vikasit Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat goals. Okay, why it is needed? The old law is outdated and there is only narrow escape, and coastal cargo up by 119% but hampered by regulatory hurdles. Alliance with PM Gati Shakti, National Logistics Policy, Sagarmala, Maritime Amritkar Vision 2047. Key provisions of the Coastal Shipping Bill 2024 are expanded coastal trade definition. In the coastal trade, they have added more trades such as beyond goods and passengers. It includes exploration, research, commercial activities such as exclusive fishing, and then covers maritime zones up to 200 nautical miles. Okay, simplified licensing processes, that is Indian owned license vessels, there is no need of license. Foreign chartered vessels licensed by DG Shipping, and overseas citizenship India's chartered vessels outside India, there is no need of no license. Okay, so Indian owned and OCA card holders chartered vessels outside India are not doesn't require any license. However, for foreign or chartered vessels, they require license by DG Shipping. And strategic planning, that is the National Coastal and Inland Shipping Strategic Plan within 2 years, reviewed every 2 years, and states are also included. And also there will be a national database which will have real-time tracking and data-driven policy, and also focuses on modernized penalties and decriminalization. Okay, more penalties but decriminalization. Expected impact will be, so according to the article, it says that by bringing this coastal trade bill, it will result in various advantages such as in economic, that is coastal cargo target of 230 MMT by 2030. It will reduce the cut logistic cost to 14% of the GDP and 80% cheaper and more efficient than road transport. And environmental, supports net zero 2070 target under Panchamitra and promotes low emission logistics in jobs and industry, boost shipbuilding, port services, maritime jobs, and strengthens Make in India. And security, higher domestic cargo share on Indian ships, and governance, cooperative federalism via state participation. All these things are the expected outcomes of this particular bill. Next, we will talk about some previous pointers. First is about District Flood Severity Index. This was released by IIT Delhi and IIT Gandhinagar. The objective is district level data-based flood severity assessment to aid planning and disaster management. Very important, you can use this as a good practice or way forward in various questions related to disasters. Focus on human impact plus flood management or magnitude, unlike the earlier measures. Okay, fine. And database is long-term IMD flood data since 1967. This uses the long-term IMD flood data and then maps the districts depending on the intensity, depending on the frequency of these floods. 40-year curated historical flood data, which is presented at IIT Delhi, which will be used again. And the parameters are mean flood duration, for how many days the flood was there, and percentage of district areas historically flooded, deaths and injuries due to floods, and population per capita impact. Okay, so key insights: Thiruvananthapuram, highest flood events but not top 30 in severity, low per capita impact. And Patna, number 1 in severity due to high population impact and flood spread. And Assam districts such as Dhimaji, Kamrup and Nagaon, higher frequency, that is 178 plus events, and severity varies by combined indicators. So once this complete list is released, we can see which district performed very worse and which district performed very well. Significance is it is the first comprehensive national flood severity index at the district scale, useful for policy prioritization, relief allocation, and long-term mitigation planning. Okay, next, hepatitis D. So recently, WHO gave an update, that is, it recently reclassified cancer causing, highlighting its severe public health risk. Okay, hepatitis D has been considered to be a cancer causing, and it has been considered as a severe public health risk. About is the hepatitis D is a liver infection caused by hepatitis D virus, and the defective virus, it requires hepatitis B virus to replicate, only affects people already infected with hepatitis B5 simultaneously or later. Next, impact hepatitis B virus, not 5. Next, health impact hepatitis BY and hepatitis DV. Co-infection will lead to more severe, faster progression to cirrhosis and liver cancer. And HDV increases liver cancer risk 2 to 6 times compared to HBV alone. And HBV can cause cancer even without cirrhosis. Okay, very important. And then transmission, same as HBV or HCV, that is blood transfusions, unsafe injections, mother to child, and sexual contact. And the prevention, universal hepatitis B vaccination prevents HIDV. Schedules birth 1 to 6 months, or birth or 6 to 14 weeks, or 6, 10 and 14 weeks, or birth between 6, 10, 14 weeks. These are different schedule maintained, not very important for you to remember. And adults, high risk is between 0, 1 and 6 months. Okay, that is not necessary. Now, notary portal. So this has been launched by Ministry of Law, Justice and Government, Law and Justice of the Government of India. Purpose, dedicated online platform for services under Notaries Act of 1952 and Notaries Rules of 1956. It enables faceless, paperless, transparent, efficient interaction between central government appointed notaries and the government. So functions is applying for appointment as a notary, verify eligibility for appointment, issued digitally sent certificates of practice, and renew certificate, change practice area, and submit annual returns. Current status is live module, verification of documents and eligibility, issuance of digitally sent certificates to new notaries, developed with NIC, multiple modules to be rolled out in phases. Significance, streamlines notary regulation and reduces paperwork and improves service delivery. So very important portal. So this ends our discussion for the day. All the articles which are very important from today have been discussed. So if you have any doubts or any suggestions for me, you can write in the comment box. And if you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.